What's up, YouTube? It's your boy from SaySo. I'm back. Before we get to it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, as you always. Watch the video.
Laid-back porch hangouts and iconic one-liners of this 3.5 million cult classic lies, a treasure trove of bizarre secrets. From a life-changing spaghetti dinner that created smoky to banned clothing colors on set, Chris Tucker's bombed audition that almost cost him the role, and a future Oscar winner appearing as an uncredited extra, Friday's production was filled with stranger-than-fiction moments that rival any neighborhood drama Craig and Smokey witnessed. Fact 1. Chris Tucker's spaghetti salvation. Chris Tucker's journey to becoming Smokey in Friday nearly ended before it began, thanks to what might go down as one of the worst auditions in Hollywood history. When the young comedian first walked into the casting room in 1994, he was fresh off the road from performing stand-up gigs and hadn't even bothered to read the script properly. Casting director Kim Harden later described Tucker's initial performance as horrible, explaining that he was unprepared, exhausted, and didn't understand that comedians could improvise and put their own spin on written dialogue.
Well, I'm glad I gave him a second chance because they worked out perfectly. I wish, well, at least according to the rumors, that he didn't get big-headed about the money, and then they said supposedly he got big-headed because he was making more money on Rush Hour, and then he didn't want to be portrayed as a smoker. It was like, bro, it was a funny role. It is not that deep. I understand it though. Certain things go against your morals. At least the come back being a smoker part, I understand. But the money part, come on, dog.
Most actors would have been sent packing after such a disastrous first
I really be getting the heating because like they be just bothering me for the most dumbest things ever.
impression. But Harden saw something in Tucker that made her give him a second chance. She told him to go home, study the material, and come back when he was ready to actually audition for the role. What happened next turned into
Her.
one of the most unusual coaching sessions in film history. Tucker reached out to Angela Means, who had already been cast as Felicia, hoping to work with her acting coach. Instead of connecting him with a formal instructor, Means invited Tucker to her home for what she called a workshop session over dinner. As they sat down to eat spaghetti, Means began working with Tucker on understanding the character of Smokey, helping him find the right energy and approach for the stoner persona that would make him famous. The transformation was remarkable and immediate. According to Means herself, by the time that spaghetti was gone, Chris was Smokey. In just one evening meal, she had helped Tucker discover the high-pitched voice, the mannerisms, and the comedic timing that would define not only his performance in Friday, but launch his entire career in Hollywood. When Tucker returned for his second audition, he nailed the role so completely that Ice Cube and DJ Pooh knew they had found their Smokey. This pasta-fueled acting breakthrough led directly to Tucker's breakout performance and eventually to his starring roles in the Rush Hour franchise, where he reportedly earned $25 million for the third film. Fact 2. Red clothing banned for gang safety. When the Friday production team decided to film on 126th Street between Normandy and Haldale in south-central Los Angeles, they unknowingly walked into one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the city during the height of gang tensions in the mid-1990s. The location wasn't chosen for its reputation, but because it was director F. Gary Gray's actual childhood neighborhood, where many of his friends still lived and could provide their homes as filming locations. What the crew quickly discovered was that this particular stretch of South Central was deep within Crips territory, an area controlled by one of Los Angeles's most notorious street gangs. The Crips were easily identified by their distinctive blue bandanas and clothing, which served as both a symbol of membership and a way to distinguish themselves from their bitter rivals, the Bloods, who wore red. This color-coding system wasn't just about fashion or identity. It was literally a matter of life and death on the streets. Recognizing the very real danger this posed to everyone involved in the production, the filmmakers made an unprecedented decision that affected every aspect of the movie's wardrobe and set design. Cast and crew members were explicitly warned well ahead of filming that absolutely no red clothing of any kind would be allowed on set, not even small accessories or details that might be mistaken for
That's smart. Very smart, bro. Because like, especially in '95, it probably was so many things going on, bro.
gang colors from a distance. The ban was so strict that it influenced the entire visual look of the finished film. If you watch Friday carefully, you'll notice that the costume design heavily favors blue tones throughout. Smokey wears a blue shirt and hat, Debo sports a plaid blue shirt, Mrs. Parker appears in blue shorts, and even 13-year-old Megan Good's character wears blue overalls and a blue hat. This wasn't an artistic choice about
Nigga done seen that movie 1,000 times. Nigga, 13? No.
color coordination.
No.
It was a survival strategy designed to prevent anyone from being mistaken for a blood gang member and potentially becoming a target for violence. The safety precaution worked, allowing the production to complete filming without any serious incidents related to gang activity, though the crew did encounter some resistance from actual gang members during certain scenes. Fact 3. Director's childhood home as crime scene. One of Friday's most memorable and brutal moments happens when the neighborhood bully Debo confronts Red about his stolen bicycle, leading to a vicious punch that sends Red flying through the air in a flashback sequence. What makes this scene particularly strange is that director Gary Gray chose to film this act of violence at the very house where he grew up as a child, turning his own childhood memories into the backdrop for fictional neighborhood drama. Gray's decision to use his actual childhood home wasn't just about convenience or saving money on location fees, though the low budget certainly played a role in the choice. The director had a deeper connection to the story being told in Friday, having grown up in the same South Central Los Angeles neighborhood where the film takes place. When Ice Cube offered him the directing job, Gray was specifically chosen because he understood the environment and culture that the movie was trying to portray, having lived it himself. The house that appears in the Debo and Red flashback scene was Gray's actual family home, where he had spent his formative years before eventually moving into the entertainment industry through music video direction. By the time Friday was being filmed,
Yeah, well, that's hard. Being able to use your childhood at home in an iconic movie or in anything in general. But something that turned out to be iconic is hard. That's hard.
in 1995, Gray had already established himself as a successful music video director, working with major artists like Ice Cube, TLC, and Dr. Dre, but this was his first opportunity to direct a feature film. Gray's personal approach to the production extended beyond just his own house, as he also recruited many of his childhood friends to allow their homes to be used as filming locations throughout the movie. The principal houses that appear in Friday were actually owned by people Gray had grown up with in the neighborhood, creating an authentic atmosphere that couldn't have been achieved on a studio lot or in a different location. This intimate connection between the director and the filming locations helped create the genuine neighborhood feel that makes Friday so believable, with Gray essentially turning his own life experiences and childhood environment into a movie set that captured the real spirit of South Central Los Angeles. Fact 4. Michael Clarke Duncan's hidden debut. Long before Michael Clarke Duncan became a household name for his heartbreaking performance as John Coffey in The Green Mile, the towering actor made one of his earliest film appearances in Friday, though you'd be forgiven for missing him entirely. Duncan appears completely uncredited in a brief scene where several characters are playing craps, blending into the background so seamlessly that most
He probably was uncredited, but we seen that nigga right there. It's at the dice game. We seen
viewers never noticed the future Oscar nominee among the group of
it.
gamblers.
Shit.
At the time of Friday's filming in 1995, Duncan was still working his way up through Hollywood's ranks, taking on small roles and background work while supporting himself with other jobs. Before breaking into acting, Duncan had worked as a bodyguard for several major celebrities, including Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, and the rapper Notorious B.I.G., using his imposing 6'5" frame and natural presence to protect some of the entertainment industry's biggest stars. Duncan's involvement in Friday went beyond just his brief on-screen appearance in the craps game scene. Behind the cameras, he also served as a stand-in for Tommy Lister Jr., who played the intimidating neighborhood bully Debo. During rehearsals and blocking sessions, Duncan would fill in for Lister, helping the crew work out camera angles and lighting setups while the main actors practiced their scenes. This kind of behind-the-scenes work was typical for aspiring actors looking to gain experience and make connections in the film industry. The contrast between Duncan's tiny role in Friday and his later career achievements is remarkable. Just 4 years after appearing uncredited in this low-budget comedy, Duncan would earn an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in The Green Mile, where he played a gentle giant with healing powers who was wrongly convicted of murder.
Still one of my favorite movies, bro. I still want to know, like, was he supposed to be like an angel or something?
He went on to star in major Hollywood blockbusters, including Armageddon, Sin City, The Scorpion King, and Daredevil before his untimely death from a heart attack in 2012 at the age of 54. Fact 5. Future NFL star's two-line wonder. When 13-year-old Megan Good showed up on the Friday set in 1995, she was just another local kid hired to play a minor background character in what would become one of the most influential comedies of the decade. Her role was so small that she was simply credited as Kid Number 2, and her entire contribution to the film consisted of just 2 brief lines of dialogue, "Hurry up," and "Man, I hate him," spoken during the scene where Smokey is holding up the line at Big Worm's ice cream truck. The scene itself was straightforward enough, with Good's character getting frustrated when Smokey takes too long talking to the drug dealer Big Worm, preventing the neighborhood kids from getting their ice cream. After Smokey shoves her out of the way while conducting his business with Big Worm, Good delivers her second line expressing her annoyance with the situation. Most child actors in such tiny roles would fade into obscurity, remembered only by the most dedicated film trivia enthusiasts. However, director F. Gary Gray noticed something special about the young actress during filming that went far beyond her brief screen time. According to Angela Means, who played Felicia in the movie, Gray had an immediate and overwhelming feeling that Good was destined for stardom. This wasn't just polite encouragement from a director trying to make a child feel good about her small part, but a genuine prediction based on what Gray observed in Good's natural presence and performance ability. Gray's instincts proved to be remarkably accurate. Just 1 year after Friday was released, Good landed a recurring role on the popular television series Moesha, which starred singer Brandy, and became a launching pad for her career. From there, Good went on to establish herself as a major Hollywood actress, appearing in films like Barbershop, You Got Served, Stomp the Yard, and Think Like a Man, while also starring in television series including Californication and Minority Report. The transformation from a 13-year-old with 2 lines in a low-budget comedy to a successful leading lady demonstrates Gray's keen eye for talent, even when it appeared in the smallest of packages. Fact 6. Chris Rock almost played Smokey. The role of Smokey, which launched Chris Tucker into stardom and gave us some of Friday's most memorable moments, almost went to a completely different comedian who would have brought an entirely different energy to the character. When New Line Cinema insisted that the filmmakers cast someone with more acting experience than DJ Pooh, who was originally supposed to play the part, the casting team seriously considered 2 other major comedic talents, Chris Rock and Tommy Davidson. Both Rock and Davidson were established performers by 1995, with Rock having already made his mark on Saturday Night Live and in stand-up comedy, while Davidson was known for his work on In Living Color and his successful stand-up career. Either choice would have dramatically altered not only the tone and style of Friday, but potentially the entire trajectory of multiple careers in Hollywood. Chris Rock's comedy style was already becoming known for its sharp social commentary and rapid-fire delivery, characteristics that would have created a very different version of Smokey than the high-pitched, laid-back stoner that Tucker ultimately brought to life. Rock's approach to
I think he played it. Can't nobody have done it better in my opinion, bro. I'm glad he got the role.
the character would likely have been more cynical and street-smart, potentially changing the dynamic between Craig and Smokey from the easygoing friendship that audiences fell in love with. Tommy Davidson, meanwhile, was famous for his impressions and characters on In Living Color, bringing a more theatrical and animated style that also would have taken Smokey in a completely different direction. Davidson's background in sketch comedy and his ability to create distinct character voices could have made Smokey more of a larger-than-life personality rather than the believable neighborhood stoner that Tucker portrayed. The decision to go with Tucker instead proved to be crucial for everyone involved. Tucker's performance became the breakout role that led directly to his starring roles.
Yeah, I don't think he would have played this role as good as he did. I don't think he would have played it.
In the Rush Hour franchise, while Rock went on to build his career through different projects, like Everybody Hates Chris and his acclaimed stand-up specials. It's fascinating to imagine how different both Friday and these comedians' careers might have been if the casting had gone another way. Fact 7. DJ Pooh's career-changing sacrifice. The character of Smokey wasn't just a fictional creation dreamed up by screenwriters, but was actually based on the real-life experiences of DJ Pooh, who co-wrote Friday with Ice Cube, and was originally slated to bring his own story to the screen by playing the role himself. Pooh had drawn directly from his past as a drug dealer when crafting Smokey's character, making him uniquely qualified to portray the laid-back stoner who gets Craig into trouble with Big Worm throughout the movie. DJ Pooh was already a legendary figure in the hip-hop world by 1995, having worked as a producer with major artists including Ice Cube, Tupac, and LL Cool J. His musical credentials were impeccable, and his street credibility was authentic, since the Smokey character was essentially a version of his younger self who had sold drugs before finding success in the music industry. This personal connection to the material would have brought an extra layer of authenticity to the performance that no other actor could match. However, when New Line Cinema agreed to finance the $3.5 million production, they came with one non-negotiable demand that would change everything. The studio executives insisted that the role of Smokey needed to be played by someone with more established acting experience and greater name recognition than DJ Pooh possessed at the time. This wasn't necessarily a reflection on Pooh's abilities, but rather a business decision based on the studio's desire to have a more recognizable face in one of the film's lead roles. Rather than walk away from the project entirely,
I mean, you got to think about it. A bigger name brings more people to watch it. Like, if it's somebody that we all know, we're going to watch it more than somebody that we know we don't.
DJ Pooh made the difficult decision to step back from the starring role he had written for himself and accept the much smaller part of Red, the neighborhood guy who constantly gets bullied and robbed by Debo. This sacrifice allowed the movie to move forward with New Line's backing, ultimately leading to Chris Tucker being cast as Smokey and delivering the performance that would make him a star. Pooh's famous line as Red, "My grandmama gave me that chain," became one of the movie's most quoted moments, though it represented just a fraction of what his original role would have been.
Yeah.
Fact
That
8.
nigga is funny though.
Bye, Felicia.
That nigga is funny though, bro. Him, and especially when he played what's the movie called? The Wash. That shit is funny. I'm on the phone with the people from the Sisters Brew.
Was pure improvisation. One of the most famous lines in movie history, which would eventually become a global internet meme, used millions of times across social media platforms, was never written in Friday's original screenplay and came about completely by accident during filming. When Ice Cube delivered the dismissive "Bye, Felicia" to Angela Mean's character, he was responding spontaneously to her performance rather than reciting memorized dialogue from the script. The scene itself was simple enough. Felicia approaches Craig and Smokey on the porch, first asking to borrow Smokey's car and then requesting to borrow a joint when that request is denied. After Smokey refuses both requests, Felicia turns to Craig for support, hoping he might help her out or at least take her side in the conversation. Instead of offering assistance or showing sympathy, Craig looks away and casually dismisses her with what would become the most quoted line from the entire movie. According to Angela Means herself, the famous phrase emerged organically from the interaction between the actors during filming. As she explained in interviews years later, Cube uttered the words, "based off what I gave him as an actor. I don't think that was actually in the script. That's what the vibe was, and we went with it." This reveals that Ice Cube was responding to something authentic in Mean's portrayal of Felicia that inspired him to create the perfect dismissive response in the moment. The improvised line captured exactly the right tone for Craig's character, someone who had grown tired of Felicia's constant requests and neediness around the neighborhood. The casual, almost bored way that Ice Cube delivered the phrase made it feel completely natural, as if Craig had been saying, "Bye, Felicia," to annoying people his entire life. What neither Ice Cube nor Angela Means could have predicted was that this throwaway moment would eventually become one of the most recognizable phrases in popular culture. The line remained relatively contained to Friday fans for years until
God, that Bob Miss Parker. When you gonna let me crush Miss Parker? Like all that shit is like nigga iconic lines, bro.
social media transformed it into a viral phenomenon, with "Bye Felicia" becoming the go-to phrase for dismissing someone or something unimportant across Twitter, Instagram, and countless other platforms. Fact 9. Clock continuity error goes midnight. One of the most noticeable continuity errors in Friday occurs during a pivotal scene near the end of the movie, where Craig finally settles down for the night after surviving his chaotic day in the neighborhood. The mistake involves Craig's bedside clock, which appears to bend the laws of time itself in a way that somehow escaped the attention of editors during post-production. The scene takes place in Craig's bedroom as he's winding down from the dramatic events of the evening, including the shootout with Big Worm's men and his fight with Debo. When Craig first lies down in his bed, viewers can clearly see his digital bedside clock displaying 12:00, indicating that midnight has arrived and Friday has officially ended. This timing makes perfect sense within the story, as the movie has followed Craig through an entire day from morning until night. However, when Craig sits up in bed just moments later to clap his hands and turn off the lights using what appears to be a sound-activated switch, the same clock now reads 11:59, showing that somehow a full minute has been subtracted from the time. This means that according to the clock, Craig has managed to travel backward in time by 60 seconds, simply by lying down and then sitting back up in his bed. This type of continuity error is particularly glaring because it involves something as fundamental as the passage of time, and digital clocks are usually considered reliable reference points
Nobody noticed that though. Nobody looked at the clock.
that audiences trust to keep track of when events are happening. The mistake becomes even more obvious because the clock appears in the exact same position in both shots, making it impossible for viewers to miss the time discrepancy once they notice it. What makes this error especially surprising is that Friday was shot over 20 days, giving the crew plenty of opportunities to catch and correct such mistakes during filming or in the editing room. The fact that this time travel moment made it into the final cut suggests that either no one noticed the problem during production, or it was discovered too late in the process to fix without reshooting the entire scene.
Yeah.
Fact 10. Smokey's impossible car technology. Chris Tucker's character Smokey drives what appears to be a perfectly ordinary 1976 Ford Pinto convertible throughout Friday. But this seemingly humble vehicle possesses automotive technology that wouldn't be invented for another decade, making it more futuristic than most cars on the road in 1995. The anachronistic error becomes obvious during scenes where Smokey uses a remote control to lock his car doors and activate what sounds like a modern car alarm system. The Ford Pinto was produced from 1971 to 1980 and was known as an economical compact car, though it gained notoriety for safety issues related to rear-end collisions. During the 70s, when Smokey's car was manufactured, remote-controlled door locks and car alarms were not available as factory options or even as aftermarket accessories. The technology simply didn't exist in any practical form for consumer vehicles during that era. Remote keyless entry systems weren't introduced to the automotive market until the early 1980s, and even then they were extremely rare and expensive luxury features found only on high-end vehicles. Car alarms with the distinctive chirping sounds that audiences hear when Smokey locks his Pinto didn't become common until the late 1980s and early 1990s, by which time they were still considered premium add-ons rather than standard equipment. The movie also shows Smokey's Pinto making the familiar beeping sound that modern car owners associate with remote locking systems, a audio cue that would have been completely foreign to drivers in 1976. This creates a situation where Smokey's beat-up old Pinto is somehow more technologically advanced than luxury cars that were being sold new when Friday was filmed. This type of mistake is known as an anachronism, where objects or technologies appear in time periods before they actually existed. While most viewers probably didn't notice this error during their first viewing of the movie, car enthusiasts and detail-oriented fans have pointed it out as one of Friday's more obvious production oversights. The filmmakers likely used a Pinto that had been modified with modern security equipment and forgot to account for the historical impossibility of such features existing on a vehicle from the mid-70s.
It's crazy that they put them certain phrases them certain things into the video that that was impossible. It's like why did they do that?
Fact 11. MTV award-winning director's film debut. F. Gary Gray was riding the highest wave of his music video career when he took on the challenge of directing his first feature film, having just claimed the most prestigious award in music video production at the 1995 MTV Video Music Awards for his groundbreaking work on TLC's Waterfalls. The timing of this transition from music videos to movies couldn't have been more perfect, as Gray was at the peak of his creative powers and industry recognition when Ice Cube offered him the chance to helm Friday. The Waterfalls video was a massive undertaking that showcased Gray's ability to handle complex visual effects and storytelling on a scale that few music video directors had attempted before. The project featured cutting-edge computer-generated imagery, including the famous liquid effects that showed the TLC members performing as water spirits, and cost over $1 million to produce. When the video won Video of the Year at the MTV VMAs, it established Gray as one of the most innovative and successful music video directors in the industry. Gray's music video portfolio leading up to Friday was already impressive, including work with major artists like Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Cypress Hill, and Queen Latifah. His collaboration with Ice Cube on the video for It Was a Good Day in 1993 had created a strong working relationship between the two, with Gray demonstrating his ability to capture authentic street life and neighborhood dynamics that would prove essential for Friday's success. When Ice Cube was granted the authority to handpick Friday's director, he specifically chose Gray not just because of his technical skills, but because the director had grown up in the same South Central Los Angeles environment where the movie takes place. This personal connection to the material, combined with Gray's proven ability to create compelling visual narratives, made him the perfect choice to translate the $3.5 million script to the big screen. The leap from music videos to feature films represented a significant risk for Gray, as many music video directors had failed to make successful transitions to Hollywood filmmaking. However, his recent MTV VMA victory gave him credibility and momentum that helped convince New Line Cinema to trust him with their investment. Fact 12. Autobiographical box-stealing origins. The opening sequence of Friday, which shows Craig getting fired from his job on his day off for allegedly stealing boxes, wasn't dreamed up by screenwriters looking for a dramatic way to start the story, but was actually pulled.
It's crazy how when you see certain things or you hear certain parts of it, you get the flashback of what happened. That nigga said you been clubhouse, nigga.
Directly from real-life events that happened to someone in Ice Cube's own family. According to Ice Cube himself, the bizarre situation that kicks off the entire movie was based on an actual incident involving his cousin, who worked as a delivery driver for United Parcel Service and found himself in almost the exact same predicament as the fictional Craig. Ice Cube has explained in interviews that when he and DJ Pooh were developing the screenplay for Friday, they made a conscious decision to draw heavily from their own personal experiences and the real stories they had witnessed growing up in South Central Los Angeles. This approach was part of their larger goal to create an authentic portrayal of neighborhood life that went beyond the violent stereotypes that had dominated previous hood films like Boys and the Hood and Colors. The cousin's actual experience involved being accused of theft by his employers, who claimed they had evidence of him stealing packages or merchandise during his delivery routes. Just like Craig in the movie, Ice Cube's cousin maintained his innocence and was frustrated by the accusation, particularly because he felt he was being unfairly targeted or used as a scapegoat for missing inventory that he had nothing to do with. What made the real-life incident even more absurd than the movie version was the timing and circumstances surrounding the firing, which struck Ice Cube as so ridiculous and unfair that it perfectly captured the kind of everyday injustices that working-class people in his neighborhood faced on a regular basis. The idea that someone could lose their job on their day off, while not even at work, seemed like the perfect example of how quickly life could go wrong for ordinary people trying to make an honest living. This commitment to drawing from real experiences helped give Friday its authentic feel, and made the characters and situations believable to audiences who recognize similar stories from their own lives and communities. Fact 13. Quentin Tarantino's unexpected favorite. When Quentin Tarantino compiled his list of 20 favorite films from 1992 to 2009, moviegoers might have expected to see the legendary director's picks filled with foreign art films, classic cinema, and critically acclaimed dramas that matched his reputation for sophisticated taste and encyclopedic film knowledge. Instead, Tarantino surprised many people by including Friday alongside what most critics would consider more traditionally prestigious cinematic works. Tarantino's endorsement of Friday carries significant weight in the film industry because he's widely regarded as one of the most knowledgeable and influential directors of his generation, someone whose opinions about movies are taken seriously by both critics and fellow filmmakers. His own films, including Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and Django Unchained, have established him as a master of dialogue, character development, and storytelling, making his appreciation for Ice Cube and DJ Pooh's neighborhood comedy all the more meaningful. What makes Tarantino's inclusion of Friday particularly interesting is that his typical preferences tend toward films with complex narratives, stylized violence, and intricate dialogue that references other movies and pop culture. Friday, by contrast, is a relatively simple story that takes place over the course of a single day and focuses on the everyday interactions between two friends hanging out on a porch in south-central Los Angeles. However, Tarantino has always shown appreciation for authentic dialogue and genuine character interactions, qualities that Friday delivers in abundance through its realistic portrayal of neighborhood life and the natural chemistry between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. The movie's ability to find humor and humanity in ordinary situations, combined with its memorable one-liners and quotable moments, likely appealed to Tarantino's love of sharp writing and distinctive character voices. Tarantino's recognition also validates the cultural impact and artistic merit of Friday beyond its commercial success and cult following. Having one of Hollywood's most respected auteur directors acknowledge the film as one of his favorites from a 17-year period gives Friday a level of critical credibility that many comedies never achieve, placing it in the same conversation as acknowledged cinematic masterpieces. Fact 14. Real gang members disrupted filming. The decision to film Friday in an authentic south-central Los Angeles neighborhood brought an unexpected level of realism to the production when two actual gang members decided they didn't want Hollywood cameras in their territory, refused to cooperate with the filmmakers during one particular scene. This confrontation forced the crew to navigate real-world tensions while trying to capture their fictional story, blurring the lines between the movie's portrayal of street life and the actual street life happening around them. The incident occurred despite the production team's efforts to work respectfully within the community and their precautions about avoiding gang colors and maintaining good relationships with local residents. Director F. Gary Gray had specifically chosen to film in his own childhood neighborhood, partly because he had existing connections and credibility in the area. But even those relationships couldn't prevent every potential conflict with people who saw the film crew as unwelcome outsiders. The two gang members who caused the disruption apparently felt that the filmmakers were exploiting their neighborhood or didn't approve of how their community was being portrayed in the movie.
The niggas wanted to get paid. Y'all filming a movie in our hood and we ain't getting no money from it.
Leading them to actively interfere with the shooting schedule. This type of real-world conflict was exactly the kind of situation that many Hollywood productions try to avoid by filming on studio lots or in controlled environments. But the Friday team was committed to capturing authentic locations, even when it meant dealing with genuine neighborhood politics. The production crew had to find creative ways to work around the gang members' refusal to cooperate, potentially changing camera angles, adjusting shooting schedules, or modifying scenes to avoid further confrontations. This kind of on-the-fly problem-solving is common in independent filmmaking, but it becomes particularly challenging when the obstacles involve people who might resort to violence if their demands aren't respected. Despite these complications, the filmmakers managed to complete the movie without any serious injuries or major incidents, though the gang interference serves as a reminder of how dangerous it could be to film in certain neighborhoods during the mid-1990s. The experience also demonstrates the commitment that Gary Gray, Ice Cube, and the rest of the team had to telling an authentic story, even when that authenticity came with real risks. Fact 15. Professional athletes named after Debo. The intimidating neighborhood bully Debo, played by Tommy "Tiny" Lister Jr. in Friday, became such an iconic representation of physical dominance and fearsome presence that two separate NFL players decided to officially adopt his name as their professional nicknames, bringing the character from South Central Los Angeles into America's most popular sports stadiums. Both Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker James Harrison and San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel have made Debo a central part of their athletic identities. James Harrison, who played, have made Debo a
Like, he said he was talking about the clock. You talking about this shit? Like, bro, we didn't pay no attention to that.
central part of their athletic
Didn't
identity.
say no time.
James Harrison, who played linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers during their championship runs in the 2000s, earned his Debo nickname through his reputation as one of the most feared defensive players in the NFL. Harrison's aggressive playing style and ability to intimidate opposing players made the comparison to Friday's bullying character particularly fitting, as he would often dominate receivers and running backs the same way Debo dominated the neighborhood residents in the movie. Deebo Samuel, whose situation is slightly different since Debo is actually his given first name rather than just a nickname, has embraced the Friday connection throughout his professional career with the San Francisco 49ers.
Name probably if that's his real name, it probably came from this. Cause who was his name? Hey Debo, we're gonna name him Debo. For what?
Samuel's physical playing style as a wide receiver, combined with his ability to break tackles and overpower defenders, creates a natural parallel to the movie character's intimidating presence and physical dominance over smaller opponents. The fact that these athletes chose to associate themselves with a movie bully rather than a heroic character speaks to how memorable and culturally significant Tommy Lister's performance was in creating Debo. The character represented a very specific type of neighborhood intimidation that resonated far beyond the movie itself, becoming shorthand for someone who uses physical superiority to get what they want. Both players have helped introduce Friday references to new generations of football fans who might not be familiar with the original movie, while also demonstrating how deeply the film penetrated American popular culture. When NFL commentators and sports journalists use the nickname Debo during broadcasts and articles, they're inadvertently keeping alive a reference to Ice Cube and F.
Yeah, and like when you say, you automatically already know what they're talking about. All right, what they referencing, especially if they use the name or the word in the right context. You already know, like he was on his Debo's tip. You know what he's on. He was on some bully stuff. You know. It's your like, subscribe, catch you on the next one.